What's up, roadies? This is Roger Sadowski.
This is Mary Brabant.
What's happening, roadies? This is Lisa Boland, and you're listening to Roadie Free Radio.
What's up, roadies? My name is Larry Milburn, and this is Roadie Free Radio, your VIP pass to meet and greet the stars behind the scenes of the music and film business. All right, what's happening, roadies? Welcome to episode number 91. 91. How are you? Today's guest is the amazing Miss Lisa S. Boland, coming at you from the Dave Matthews Band, ticket manager for the Dave Matthews Band. Haven't had someone this deep. We haven't had someone this deep in an organization yet. And so I'm super psyched for today's episode and to bring it to you. First off, I want to say if you made it to the March for Our Lives marches and protests over the weekend, I want to thank you. I want to let you know I got your back. We here at Roadie Free Radio got your back. This next generation, man, these high schoolers, they're the ones that are going to make the change. I can tell you that right now because we clearly have screwed this up and dropped the ball. But I love the momentum and I love the passion. And you guys are doing a great thing. Whatever we can do to help stop all this nonsense, we're going to do it. The other thing I want to let you know about, I talked about it a couple weeks back. Norman Harris and his group of buddies, Richie Sambora, John Five, and Joe Bonamassa have started the All Guitar Network. Go check it out, allguitarnetwork.com. It's an app. You can download it for your phone or your tablet. You can get it on Apple TV, I believe. Right now, it's a soft launch, but in about a month or less, it's going to be a major launch. And they have offered me a spot on the app to bring some cool video content. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm very excited about it. And I can't wait to get rolling. I've uploaded a bunch of stuff up there already. If you guys want to go check it out. And we're going to start a couple of original series that I've come up with just for that channel over the next month or two. So allguitarnetwork.com. I think all you have to do is put in an email and a password and you're good to go for now. It is free right now. It will eventually, in the next probably 3 or 4 months, become a subscription basis. So get in there now while you can and enjoy. There's a lot of amazing stuff from guys like Tim Pierce, great LA session player, John Five, like I said. And from Nerdville, our buddy Joe Bonamassa is bringing out a lot of cool videos. I've already seen a couple of them. So head over and check it out, allguitarnetwork.com. Thank you guys for all of your comments and support and love for last week's episode with Peter Shapiro. I don't know if anyone caught it. It was a subtle thing, but I redid the intro tune, the Roadie Free Radio intro tune, and just clicked on a new drum track and then re-recorded some bass and guitar and tried to make it kind of groovy and fit within that jam band, spacey, deadhead kind of a thing. So anyway, hope you dug it. What else do I have for you? I had a great time sitting down talking to him, but it was very cool. And I appreciate all you guys tuning in. Next week, episode 92, mark your calendars. We got the man himself, Mr. Ken Pooch Van Druten, is going to be right here on Roadie Free Radio, talking about his amazing run and his amazing career and those amazing ears of his. Where did he get those ears? No, smart guy. We had a killer chat, and I'm very humbled and pleased to have him on the show, as I am with all my guests. You know, I say it all the time, but I believe that a lot of these folks have inspiring stories of how they got to where they are, the levels that they did, and what they do, and why do they do it day in and day out, and who helped them along the way, and how are they helping bring up the next generation. So I hope you agree. If this is your first time tuning into the show, I want to thank you for being here, and we all thank you for being here. There have been a core group of people that have been with me since the start, and you know I love you guys, and I thank you guys. And yeah, it's just a good time, man. I think spring is finally in the air. Some of our snow here in Connecticut starting to melt away. I looked at the temperatures. Looks like they're creeping up a bit. I hope that's the case and we can be rid of this, get on to some flip-flop and short weather, and start cranking up the tunes. Listen, today's episode is sponsored by the one and only giggear.com. makers of the award-winning gig gloves and the newly released two-hand touch. Gig gloves are the best way to protect your most valuable asset on any gig, job, or show, man. Your hands. You got to protect your hands, because when you're wearing gig gloves, there's practically no task that you can't do with your gloves on, keeping you safer and more efficient. Now listen, for all of you front of house and monitor engineers out there, the two-hand touch is an efficient and ergonomic solution that eliminates all of the problems of having to hold an iPad or tablet by putting it right where production pros need it to be, directly in front of them. And right now, you know it. You know we got a special offer. We have a special running right now. When you use the code ROADIE, you'll get yourself 15% off your entire order. Gloves, two-hand touch, whatever they got, 15% goes to you when you go check out the website, gig-gear.com. Not slash, okay? Not gig/gear.com, but gig-gear.com. Use the code ROADIE, get yourself 15% off. Speaking of slash, I don't know if you guys saw it this week, but I found a picture of Slash wearing a Got Roadies t-shirt, one of my t-shirts. Doug Redler, Rich Robinson's guitar tech, one of my early supporters. Actually, he is the earliest supporter. He's the guy that pushed me to do this show and keep doing some stuff on the folks behind the scenes. He was Slash's tech for a run, maybe for about a year. He walked into his first day of rehearsals wearing his Got Roadies t-shirt, and Slash said, "Yo, I want that shirt." Doug said, "Yo, I can get you a shirt." He goes, "No, I want that shirt right there." Anyway, I sent the man some shirts, and he's wearing it in an interview talking about his top 5 horror flicks with Rolling Stone. And I'm cruising around Google pics, images, whatever, and there he is sitting in this beautiful shot wearing the shirt, and it says Rolling Stone underneath. Anyway, I posted a pic of it on social media. Check it out if you haven't done so already. Made me proud. Should make you proud. The man's representing roadies. That's what we do. All right. Listen, Lisa Boland from the Dave Matthews Band. She's the ticket manager for the Dave Matthews Band and has been so since 2005. She's done a lot of stuff, man. Like I said, she is deep undercover in the organization. She's one of the first touch points for people in a lot of ways, for their tickets, for their experience at a Dave show. And very cool. She was a little reluctant to be on the show, but I talked her into it, man, and I'm very glad that she did. It was a very cool perspective to have her on here. She does a ton of freelance work, dressing room and hospitality stuff for iHeart Village and Global Citizen. She does a lot of stuff for them when she's not with Dave, but pretty much her Dave Matthews gig is a year-round thing. But she manages to find time for other folks. So, yeah, I'm going to get out the way and get this interview started. I've got to head up to Boston for the next 4 days for a gig with some buddies of mine needing my help filming something up there. So I got to get packed and get on the road. So that's what I got for you today. You guys have a phenomenal week. I will be back in touch with you next week. In the meantime, here we go. Miss Lisa S. Boland.
Hit it. Call yourself a roadie. Call yourself a roadie. Call yourself a roadie.
Lisa, what's going on? How are you? You're sitting.
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. You're sitting in Philadelphia, right?
Yes, I'm currently in my home, semi-slow, middle ground, regular working hours schedule until we leave on the road.
And when do you guys head out on the road? You're heading out with Dave.
I head out with Dave Matthews Band on, I think I leave May 15th.
So you got a little time.
Yeah. This is a good period for me. This is where we're just doing a lot of upkeep work, office type of work. On sales are over, so it's a little bit slower because that craziness is kind of already finished, and just maintenance period until we hit the road.
Got it. Nice. So do things start ramping up sort of right before with more tickets and stuff like that you have to deal with, or is it still pretty quiet? Yeah,
well, I shouldn't say it's quiet. It just becomes a normal work, a normal work level. When I'm in on sale period, which is kind of, for Dave Matthews Band, it's November, sometime in November till we go on sale February and March with different schedules. I'm crazier during that period than I am on the road. Mm-hmm. It's long hours. There's a lot of work to be done in very little time, keeping up with a lot of changes, and there's a lot of shows and work to be done. So that's my super hectic period. Then I go back into a normal work schedule like now where, I'm working my own pace, my own hours, getting projects done, conference calls, and just getting things together, getting ticket requests done, and just camera kills, anything having to do with tickets. Right. And then we hit on the road, and obviously my work is the same maintenance. It just changes. It changes gears a bit.
Right.
So.
So you've been with Dave since about 2005.
Yeah, it's a long time. My longest relationship.
Yeah. And to give me your exact title again.
Ticket manager, Dave Matthews Band.
Ticket manager, Dave Matthews.
Well, I would just say ticket manager because if we do solo shows or Dave and Tim or some of the side projects with maybe other artists if I'm involved. So I'm just ticket manager.
Yeah. So you handle all of Dave's stuff in terms of tickets and things.
Yes. Yep.
So is it fair to say you're kind of like one of the first touch points for people to the artist?
Yeah. I mean, it depends on, what those people are doing. I essentially like to feel like I'm a box office manager for the band. Mm-hmm. So Dave Matthews Band takes a lot of, they take a lot of time to care about their fans and their fan clubs and, to help take care of their fans in a true way to help them avoid scalping. And so fan club members get first buy and all these benefits. And my job is to work with the box offices to make sure all of that gets done in a way that the band and management want it to be.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Dave,
it's confusing. There's not a ton of people that do this type of work, or there's different people that do different parts of what I do. But I'm kind of a all-in-one.
Right. Because of the way the DMB organization was sort of molded and found. You jumped into my question before I even got there, which is awesome. Because I remember when Dave was coming up, I graduated college in 94. There was a guy in my fraternity that would drive down, I guess, to Virginia, DC area, and go see them play in these little tiny places when they were just starting out and come back with these tapes and just kill us with, repeated versions of ants marching and all this kind of stuff. So by the time like 94, 95 came around, we all kind of knew who they were and were psyched about it, but they had a certain way of doing their thing, right? In terms of building their community and whatnot.
Yeah, I guess so. They're really grassroots.
Yeah. Obviously
that was before my time with the band. And,
right.
And I was kind of in a bit of a different scene. I was not getting tapes, and it wasn't fully on my radar in the early 90s. I kind of heard of it, but it wasn't part of my world.
But coming into it 10 years later, for you, it was pretty well established. And I'm wondering, is that, in terms of what they do, how different is it, let's say, for what they do than other bands out there, for other bands their size, certainly?
I mean, there's a few bands that I don't know for 100% certain, but I feel like they do things in a similar way that we do. And that would be, obviously Fish and Pearl Jam.
Yep.
There's a few bands out there that really have their own ticketing people, take time to really care about their fan club members. Not saying that other artists don't do that.
Right.
But DMB has a specific way of doing it that I don't think a ton of artists do, or they might not do it in-house. They might have promoters or a large tour promoter or management do it.
Yeah.
So it might not be to the full extent that we do.
Are you the one person that handles this for them, or do you have a team under you?
We're a bit of a team. There's obviously my tour director, who is also does the tour accounting and director of ticketing, and he oversees me, gives me my projects, tells me what might need to be done or changed.
Yep.
And he's also my boss while we're on the road, and we work very closely together. I do my box office settlement. I give it to him to do the full show settlements. And then when we're, in general, we have a customer service person or we have customer service people at the fan club that will answer customer questions. I don't deal with customers directly.
Right.
We have a computer programmer, obviously, because when we're doing ticketing and fan club sales and lottery sales, so there's a few people involved with that. We have computer programmer. We have people that print the tickets because we do special stock. We have a project manager that kind of keeps us all on track and pulled together.
Okay.
And we all kind of might work for different entities, but we're one team.
Right. Right.
Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't say that they're under me or I'm under them. I would say we all work together.
Yeah. And I imagine that that's a sort of top-down mentality in terms of how they like the organization to be run.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So it's, it's a couple, one or two people at Red Light and people that might be at Tickets Today. Like it's kind of all different entities from everywhere.
Yeah. And like we said, you've been with them since 2005.
Yeah.
It's your longest relationship. What has kept, aside from why they've kept you around, why have you stuck around with one artist for that long?
Gosh, sometimes even I wonder. But to be honest, I work with great people. Everyone I work with is so excellent. The people I tour with are great. The band are wonderful. We're just like one big family. And because we tour every year, it is a family. A lot of the same people are with us out on the road, and you just get that comfort with everybody, and you're there for everybody.
Yeah.
But really, Dave Matthews Band treats us very well. They take good care of us. They're good people. And if you go work for someone else, you don't necessarily know who or what you're going to get. Mm-hmm. There are times where I would love to work for other people, and I do freelance work in off season for me with others because I like to continue to learn and grow and gain more skills in my field. Hopefully I have another 10, 20 years left of doing this.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that I'm more marketable and have more skills than just ticketing and what I do, which is definitely a box I get filled in.
Yeah.
So there are other artists that do what, have people like me that I could reach out to, or I could go and do other work. And during that slow season, I might try. But my schedule with Dave keeps me pretty packed year round that it's hard for me to even go out and do other full tours.
Right.
I might be able to do a short one in the winter, a month or a couple of weeks here and there. But really for me in the winter, I can't start a 6-month tour or 1-year tour.
Sure.
My loyalty is to DMB, and they keep me happy, and we have a good working relationship, and that's why I stay. I work with great people. That's
awesome. And they primarily do sort of spring, summer big tours, right? That's your guys' big season.
Yeah, we do long summer tours, May till September. We have a couple weeks off in August usually. On the occasion, there'll be a few weeks in the winter or spring. Sometimes they'll go to Europe in winter or the spring. I don't go to Europe with them. Mm-hmm. That's usually when I'll be home doing on sales and other work. And it pretty much, there's very little downtime for me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's like October, November, is kind of, I'm still doing work, but that's the same thing. That's when it's maybe a bit slower, or maybe I could go and take a vacation for a week.
Right.
But then we ramp up and it's all year. So I'm not like most roadies where I have to go from gig to gig because I'm just on one tour.
Right.
Because I do ticketing, there's a lot of advance work. So I'll be working months on a tour before other people even know about it or know if they're going to be on it.
Sure. Yeah, I imagine it's got to be kind of nice for you too, because as you mentioned, not only are a lot of roadies going gig to gig with a specific tour,
yes,
but they might only go out for a couple of weeks or a month or whatever it is, 2 months, and then they got to find the next gig.
Yeah, they might be off work for 2 or 3 months and then have to find another gig. And
yeah, you kind of know how your year looks, which in our industry is probably a pretty nice luxury.
It is a luxury. It's pretty rare, I would say.
Yeah.
And it wasn't always like this. Obviously, over time and the length of time I've been with the band, that's grown and changed. So for sure, yeah, it's definitely nice compared to a lot of people. Some people, I'm lucky I get to be home as much as I am because I'm working with one artist so much.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't have that luxury.
And it also must be nice to be working that much behind the scenes. I mean, you're like deep undercover behind the scenes. In terms of most of the guests that I've had on the show, right? They're sort of, not that you're not interfacing with the artist, right? But they're like right there, a tech of some kind, front of house, or whatever. They're right there. And then they kind of go away, and then they come back when the tour comes. You're there the whole time. And it must be a nice break for you then to be able to go on the road. That's like quasi vacation time.
Well, I wouldn't say that.
Or maybe that's the work. Maybe that's the work.
I definitely wouldn't say that.
Maybe, I'm sorry, I'm trying to phrase it. Maybe that's the work time, right? And the other time is because it's slower.
I kind of get the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
I come from, I used to work at SFX touring back in the day and at AEG Concerts West touring back in the day. So I come from that office before it was as large as it was now. I come from an office background. So I get to do, but being in music. So this way I get to do both. Part of the year I'm working from home, getting to do office work and connecting with the people that I work with when I'm on tour all summer.
Yeah.
And then I'm on the road and I'm seeing those box offices face to face, seeing the promoter reps face to face. That's when I'm working with the band directly. So I get the best of both worlds, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm lucky.
Absolutely. All right, so let's go back. You mentioned in the beginning of this that you weren't part of that tape scene thing in the early 90s. Where are you from? What was your scene? What were you doing?
I guess I'm from South Florida. That's basically where my formative years. Well, that's where my formative years were. I was born in New York, but at 12 moved to Florida. So I was part of that South Florida hardcore punk music scene. Mm-hmm. That was my world. If Florida was such a isolated pocket, it wasn't like you just listen to metal and that's it. Like kind of one big scene. You'd go to a show on a Friday night and there would be a ska band and a punk band and then a straight edge hardcore band. And that was my world. That was kind of the scene that I was in. And I'm not as into it anymore because I'm just an old lady, but that's what I grew up listening to, and that's the shows I went to. And in college, that's what I was doing and listening to.
Were you getting involved behind the scenes then as well, or no? Was it just as a fan?
Yes and no. I worked. I was like the girl with the camera. I was documenting our scene, taking a lot of photos for local bands to use on their albums. And the inserts in their albums, and then I did college radio and was a promoter. Was promotions rep and had a DJ show. After college, I had a DJ night at a club in Fort Lauderdale, and what else did I do? Yeah, I mean, I didn't put on shows. I didn't know about that world. I didn't quite understand that there was a music business, and I wish I had that a bit. I wish I learned that a bit younger. I worked at the cool record store in town, so yeah, I was always part of that world, but I didn't understand the full mechanics of the industry.
Right, big family?
No, I mean I have a lot of cousins, but it's just me and my brother and my parents, and parents are still married, and
awesome.
It's kind of a normal background.
Music in your family, though? Was there a big influence of music?
Absolutely not.
No.
I am the black sheep. Nobody knows where I came from. My brother, liked music and was kind of into the music on the radio, and my parents would have music playing on the weekends when I was much younger. But no, none of my parents, no one in my family even plays an instrument or anything. I do have a cousin that also now works at a record label. Cool. Which is pretty cool. That's his thing, so I don't want to talk about his. He does, he's got a great gig. But even that to me, I was in music at such a young age, and no one in my family was. So I was definitely the weirdo wearing all black with the pink hair. And, you know, I became vegetarian when I was super young, and nobody really got me in my family. But
Wow.
I think they see it now. I think they
I
get
hope
it
so.
now. Yeah.
I hope so. I mean, particularly because you've worked with some pretty amazing artists.
Yes.
Right? And you're with a pretty amazing artist right now. Mm-hmm. So that's cool. So then how'd you start winding your way, you know, so with South Florida, you went to college down there as well?
I went to University of South Florida in Tampa.
Okay.
And then I went to Art Institute. My degree is in photography.
Oh, cool.
So I think I worked in photography for about 6 months, maybe a year, while I was also working at the record store.
Yeah. And
then I ran into someone from high school that happened to work for SFX Touring, which was a new division that was created off of MagicWorks. Mm-hmm. I think it was off of MagicWorks. And it was this guy from high school and another gentleman named Bruce Capp. And they needed someone in the office that really knew a lot about music. I went in, I did a typing test, which I don't think people do anymore, but
is that even a thing?
I type really fast.
I bet, man.
And that was it. I got hired, and that's where I started. It was just me and these two gentlemen just working on these multi-million-dollar huge tours. I got in while it was a small enough office before it really exploded and became huge. And I got in when the time was right.
And what were you doing for those guys?
What we did is what Live Nation Touring, it's the Live Nation Touring division now. We would buy a tour off of an artist, working directly with their management company. We would then sell it to all the local promoters in all the different areas across the country, different regions. And we would kind of be middle management. And at that time, our office was so small that I did everything from deal sheets and working on routing and doing the booking. And it was a little bit of everything.
That's awesome. So you really got a front row seat into how this shit works.
I did. I mean, it was really, I worked for a great man that really taught us a lot. And because we were such a small office that's grown over time, I really got to learn quite a bit. We had a partner office, he had a partner with another office that was in Cleveland, and eventually we became one office as the company got bought by Clear Channel and growing, and they moved us to Los Angeles. And
wow.
I just got very lucky getting to start when it was small, keeping my head down, keeping my work good,
right,
and being able to move up and try new things. And that's how I got into this. They needed someone that would help with some ticketing, because we were doing ticketing for Lenny Kravitz's tour, and I just volunteered. I was like, I'll do it. I guess I'm going to do it. I was just eager and wanting to learn and keep growing. So that's
awesome.
how it started. How it started.
So explain me this, since I don't know this part of it. So what does it mean to buy a tour off an artist?
And I'm sure it's changed a lot now. I haven't worked in that. Remember that was like 20 years ago now.
Yeah.
But basically, they would. I don't want to give names away and everything, but they would give an artist, say, we're going to give you $3 million for the tour. Okay. So the artist has guarantee of $3 million. Some of this inner working with that stuff with management contracts, I don't know.
Yep.
And then we would have the tour, and to get to that $3 million, it would be, instead of maybe a smaller market like Baltimore wouldn't have to pay $500,000 to meet the artist guarantee. They might pay $200,000, and a larger market like Los Angeles might pay $400,000 to kind of balance it out. You'd be able to adjust ticket prices to market. You kind of run the tour where instead of a management and booking agent doing everything themselves, you guys are working together.
Got it.
As a national tour promoter.
Wow.
So it's essentially the similar models to what AEG Touring is doing, Live Nation Touring. There might even be others. Those are just the two big ones. And I'm not even sure how they do how they break things up and work things anymore, because I've been out of it for so long. I'm sure it's changed quite a lot.
Right. How have you seen just in general, I'm sure you have an impression of how you've seen the touring industry change since the early to mid 90s.
They're definitely, it's bigger shows.
Yeah.
There's more lighting, there's more staging, it's more entertainment than I think it used to be. Or maybe it's just the shows that I've gone to.
Yeah.
I think industry in general, and same thing, I think this is relative to age and who I work for, but I see a lot of people that are more professional, that are growing up, more professional, doing more things than 20 years ago. But I was a young kid going to shows, and when I first started touring, doing different jobs, I was in a different mindset. So I don't know if sometimes I wonder if the industry has changed a ton or if it's me that's changed with it. So I notice more things now. I see more things than maybe I paid attention to before.
Yeah.
I like to see more women in the industry. I see more of us coming up and up. I do think it's still really difficult for a lot of women to keep moving up and move into some of those bigger roles. Mm-hmm. It is still a bit of a boys' club.
Yep.
So I don't know.
Have you faced in your career some of the same challenges, let's say, that your contemporaries, female contemporaries, have faced that are out there trying to be quote unquote roadies, more sort of on the front line in terms of humping gear and, being a tech and front of house and all that kind of stuff? I mean, you probably have had your own sort of thing, I would imagine, where it's like, oh, you're just the office person. You're the office gal, right?
I don't know. I mean, I think I have a different experience because I've worked with one artist for so long.
Yeah.
That, they know me and I think they know most of what I do. I don't even think some of the crew I work with know everything that I do in advance or how long that schedule is.
Right. You're also with an artist. You're also with an artist. I would imagine. My impression is that they're not playing that old boys network thing. They seem pretty open to bringing everybody up.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Like I said, just because we're a family, some of that is avoided. But when I work with other artists or freelance gigs, and certainly on the way up or when I'm just coming in, and even when I worked in offices, there's definitely still a bit of a boys club. If you don't go and play golf with someone on the Saturday while they're all playing golf, you can feel a little out of the loop or missing some of those opportunities that maybe are out there.
Yep.
Whether you're a tech or do the type of work that I do, that definitely comes into play. Sometimes there's those unwanted advances, and it's not going to be from the guys I've worked with for 15 years that,
right.
They know me, they know my deal, but it just happens out there. And sometimes, you can talk like a sailor and be flirty and be who you are. And some people just get it and they know that that's who you are. And some people maybe take it the wrong way or try to twist that into something else.
Right. Do you get young women, let's say, or young, folks, family, friends, whatever, like, oh my God, I want to get in the business. What do I do? How do I do this? And what's your advice for them?
I get that a lot in the local cities. I'll usually hire a local assistant. Again, because I come through so often, I try to use the same people and we get a good working relationship. I've had people where they've been my assistant and now they're tour managers, and I'm like, wow, they've surpassed me. I'm going to need them for jobs soon.
Right.
But really, my best advice is to just learn. Don't interject in conversations that you might not know everything, or sometimes just being there and listening is the best part of learning and gaining that acceptance. A lot of times, if you're up and in someone's face, some people just don't like that, and it makes them it might push them away from you.
I don't think anybody likes that.
Yeah. And then there's just that fine line between aggressively looking for work and looking for work. Sometimes it just becomes a little bit too frustrating when maybe you're trying to get something done and someone's just there like, I need work, I'm looking for work, how how did you get into this? How did you? And it's like, oh, I have plenty of time to talk. Let me just get this task finished first. This is my job. I have to get my job done first before I can maybe talk to you about how I started or, something like that.
Right. It can be kind of a turnoff, right? You're kind of like, okay, take it easy.
Yeah. I mean, especially because a lot of people that I come across, a lot of it is just because they like Dave Matthews Band.
Right.
And they don't necessarily see or understand the whole industry or what's involved. And a lot of people don't get that what we do is hard work. It's long days. We're away from our family. We're living out of one suitcase. And there's definitely some glamorous points and moments, but it's not like that a majority of the time.
During the show, do you get to hang out and enjoy the show itself?
No.
Those 2 hours? No. You never see any of that stuff. You're tucked away in some office or a trailer somewhere?
Occasionally, if there's a song I really like or something interesting, I'll run out to watch it.
Yeah.
But no, I'm usually in a trailer backstage or because we're primarily in amphitheaters, I'm in a room which doesn't have windows, and I'm there all day. And I'm stuck behind a computer quite a lot. During the show, when the band and everyone else is working, I'm doing box office settlement.
Right.
I'm making sure that the tickets that we're paying for, because we do such a large amount of fan club and guest list ticketing, I'm making sure all of those numbers match up, making sure guests are picking up their tickets, that they're not having problems, making sure the fans are getting in and not having problems at the front gates. Looking at our scan count numbers, how many people are in the venue, or is there traffic? Are people not showing up? When can we close the box office? And I'm just taking a look at all that, doing accounting and spreadsheets, getting ready for the next day, answering emails. And that's a big catch-up period for me because there's less distractions when everyone else is working and on stage.
Sure.
So I'm kind of wrapping up our evening and working with my boss to do, I do my box office settlement, I give it to my boss, and then I'm doing internal settlements within our systems to make sure money and tickets and everything matches up. And if my boss or they need me for questions, I'm there. So,
how much does social media come into play, and are you monitoring that stuff in terms of like people talking about a particular show while it's happening, and that I can get tickets or whatever, issues like that? Are you monitoring any of that stuff, or is that totally out of your thing?
I mean, I don't know if it's part of my job description. I look at it to see if I hear anything like I look on message boards or Facebook and things like that. But really, we have customer service people and the box office. And if there's issues or things that they could come with me with too that I can help with, I'm there to help. But a lot of that is kind of happening in advance for all of us, not really on the day of the show.
Right.
I'll be there. I'm there to work to get more seats open, if we can open them production-wise when we get into the venue, to make more seats available to the public. Mm-hmm. I work with venues on that. Can we increase the size of the lawn capacity? Will the fire marshal let us add seats here? Things like that. Or working with my tickets and the promoter. I'm not using these tickets, these 20 tickets I held last minute for the band, so I'll release them so that they can sell to people waiting online.
Right.
And making sure that we could get as many fans in as we can.
You've got a pretty awesome fan base at this point.
Yeah, we do.
And fan club. What are some cool stories and things that you've been able to, facilitate for them and with them and interface with them? Can you share any of those?
Well, I'm kind of on the behind the scenes for the fan club. Well, I guess maybe now if some of them discover this, they might know. But, I don't – when we do upgrades, I meet members and things like that. But, fan club members, they don't know me or what I do.
Right.
Years ago when we used to do front row pit upgrades where I'd go out into the lawn and, we'd find fans, people wearing shirts and super excited for the show, dancing during the opening band, and we'd move them down to the front row so that we had true fans in that front row.
That's awesome.
During that time, there was, pictures of me wearing my black sweatshirt online, and that kind of started to scare me a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm not always great with public and large amounts of people I don't know. which is weird because I used to be like super social and out there.
Yep.
So I would interact with them during that, but a lot of times even then they don't believe you, or why would you do this?
Right.
Who are you? Get away from me. So I'm more behind the scenes. I'm there doing everything that they don't see to really help them have that great experience.
Yeah.
And we have customer service people at the warehouse that really, they're fans, and they work with the fans, and they they're working with the fans if they have issues. I broke my leg. I'm in a wheelchair now because I was in a car accident, and the fan club representatives, our customer service people, will write me, hey, are we able to get a wheelchair ticket now for this people? Do we have any left so that we could take care of them? And I'm that person to facilitate that.
Right. God, that's awesome, man.
It's different. It's interesting. It's hard to explain a lot of what I do. I think a lot of people in our industry think ticketing people just fill guest list orders. They just stuff envelopes and bring them up to the box office or hand cocktail napkins off. I think that's definitely, a lot of people don't realize what we do or the benefit to us, the benefit of having people like me.
Sure.
Larger tours might have someone in the office to advance a tour, and then they might send someone else on the road to do guest list, or they don't send someone on the road to do that other stuff. I'm kind of a one-stop shop for all that. I do wish more artists would realize the benefits to ticketing people and box offices in general.
Right. But again, it comes down to that top-down thing. It's that community. And I'm going to draw a parallel. I think I can draw this parallel. You came up in the punk scene, South Florida, which you loved, which is a very big DIY scene, right? Punk, wherever it's SoCal or So Florida or wherever it is. And you've landed into, that sort of, Dave wasn't grunge back then, but that sort of new wave jam band movement of Dave and Fish and Blues Traveler and all that. They were doing the same thing. It's all very DIY, right?
Yeah, they were, and I think that's part of what resonates with me. Is it is homegrown. It is them paying attention to things and how things are run and how they want their music and themselves represented.
Yeah, super cool.
They're not letting someone else play it and do it for them. They're who they are.
Yeah. What's your your favorite moment of a show is going to be different than, like a crew member, that kind of crew member, What's your favorite moment of a show?
Gosh. I don't know. Because I'm not watching the show. I think.
Well, when I say show, I mean like from rolling into that venue and rolling out.
I like there's a few things, I guess, if I look at it that way. I like going in early and taking a look at the venue and the seats while they're all empty and everything's just kind of clean and there and empty before everyone gets in, and it's a bit quiet. I like just starting my day, doing my job, setting up my desk. Some road people just come in and they work wherever, but I have a table linen, and I have a little bag of toys, little sculptures that look like cats. I'm a cat lady. I like setting that up, and it just makes it feel like home. Mm-hmm. And then when you feel like home, you do your better work. You just work all day. I like seeing my coworkers throughout the day, stopping by, running into them, having a chat. And then during the show, as we get later, I like seeing the fans lining up. I like them getting into the gate easily because that makes me happy. Security is working well. Gates are open. We're moving everybody in. There's no problems. I like hearing that there's no issues, that people are picking up their tickets at will call with no problem, that we don't have people where they walk in and they're not finding their seats, or someone's sitting in them because it double sold. Things like that mean that I'm doing my job right on my end. Like, we didn't sell the same person to a fan club member that we did on Ticketmaster. And things like that make me just happy that we're doing it. So
you must be finely attuned to customer service when you go to other places.
Yeah, in general, part of my job is customer service, even if I'm not always dealing with the customers.
Right.
I try to think like that. Some, you know, I just think it's a priority. So when I'm working with a show, when I bring our fan club will call up or guest list will call up, I always take time. I'll stand in the box office for half an hour or so, just hearing how they interact with the fans, that's usually when you catch a lot of problems or you hear people ask questions and you can take that and hear what they're saying. So customer service in general, I think, is really important. There's a fine line between being sympathetic and empathetic if people are upset with the seat locations or I'm so far back. How did that person, get up close? Things like that.
Sure.
And I try to take that with everything I deal with dealing with people. It's it teaches me how to deal with all different types of people and personalities.
Yeah.
And it's a skill that I bring with me for other work that I do.
Right. I imagine, though, there's got to be some, it's almost like, a crew person dealing with a local hire, right?
Yes.
And not, it's like, they don't really know the gear or whatever it is, and, they might have an issue. I imagine for you, standing in the box office, listening to how some of those folks deal with your quote-unquote customers, your fans, I wonder how receptive they are to your suggestion of like, hey, maybe you could handle this like this. It's just like, whatever, lady.
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Sometimes, I don't have to get involved like that. Or if there is an issue, I'll go to the window myself to explain something. Because what a lot of people don't realize is local staff, they're there for every show. They're there all the time. And every artist might do things differently. So they don't hear all those different things for every show.
Right.
They might get told at 1 PM or the day before. So they're not always hearing all of that. And it's not their fault. You can't blame them. It's like a waiter hearing a special. Every day there's a different special. If the menu is changing all the time.
Yeah.
Local staff, whether it's backstage, ushers, security, it changes all the time. Their menu is changing all the time. So they might not know all of the answers. But if I'm in there and I can help them, I'll go into the window, I'll answer a few things. Then they start to hear it. They see how I handled it. I don't always need to do that. At some box offices, it's just so easy. There aren't issues. They're just photo ID. Here's your envelope. We don't have tickets for sale. We only have lawn. And it's easy to go that way.
Yeah.
So, and then backstage, I have local assistants for most of my shows that help run things back and forth to the box office so that I can be there with the band or doing the work that I need to do.
Yeah.
And same thing, I have my moments where I might be a little bit tony, and it's not necessarily directed at them. It's the way I handle my stress.
Yep.
It's something to constantly be working on. But, same thing. They're there to work and just like I am. And you have to be respectful to them because the same people you work with on their way up or your way up or down, you're always going to come across them.
Sure. So you're out, what did we say, 3.5 months-ish? Was that about right?
Yeah. So, I've never even really counted. It's early May till mid-September. And thankfully, my band is awesome and like to take 3 weeks off in August. So I'll be working during those 3 weeks, but I'll get to be home.
Yeah. So we know that you like to bring your little cat model things, toys.
I put in my road case. I don't even.
They're in your road case.
Oh, they're just in my road case.
Yeah, they're there. What else is so? But we know that you like to set up your world. That helps you work and be focused and disciplined and get your job done. For 3.5 months that you're out on the road, what else do you do to keep your sanity and keep your sanity?
Well, for me, it's for non-show days, air quotes, because for me, there's never true days off, even on those days where the band isn't playing. I still have office work to do.
Sure.
I've learned over the years, I've become better at finding some balance to that. So a lot of times I'll go out during the day to get that fresh air, that sunlight, especially because while we're an outdoor amphitheater tour, a lot of times I'm working inside all day in a room with no windows.
Right.
So I try to go outside, get some fresh air, take time to myself to do things that I like to do and work in the evening, or I'll do work in the morning and then go out. Mm-hmm. So I try to find the things that ground me. I've discovered a lot of national parks through tour the last few years. My monitor guy, Ian, has helped me develop this new love of national parks. So a lot of times, if I can think ahead and plan ahead, we'll rent a car and we'll drive an hour away to go to a national park and check it out. Just being out, getting to do some of that hiking.
That's awesome.
It's also, I like to find my local coffee shops. For me, it's pretty simple at this point because we're in a lot of the same cities, and you start to develop this bit of a routine. So it is good to experience something different, like Ian pulling me into the national parks helped get me out of my usual on days off.
Yeah.
But it just really helps to kind of do a lot of the things I would do at home. Local coffee, finding a good vegan restaurant, doing a little in-room exercise in the morning.
Yep.
And trying to, those are the days where I try to catch up on phone calls back home to the husband or to the family, so the parents.
Right, right. Do you guys have kids?
Oh, nope.
No, just cats. Just cats.
Just a cat, one very difficult cat. Nope. Kids are just not, I know people on the road that do it, and it's amazing. It was just never a desire I had.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And you guys have been married about 10 years?
10 years next month. God, it's crazy.
Is he, congratulations, coming up for that. Is he in the industry also?
He's not. He gets it. My husband used to play in a punk band that toured. He's toured the world, even more than me. I've never toured in Japan, and he has. But it was different. He was touring in a van and sleeping on people's floors. And
yeah.
He was signed on a label and had some label support. But so he gets it. He gets what it's like because he plays music and he's in that music scene where I come from. But now, no, he's graduating with his PhD next month, and he's going to be an assistant professor. And wow. he's just later in life found a different path after playing in a band for so long. So
good for him. So what do you guys do? Do you have a routine that you do when you're on the road? Can't go longer than 3 weeks without him coming out to visit, that sort of stuff, or anything like that? Or you just kind of have it figured out at this point?
I mean, we have to wing it a little bit. It used to be my schedule with Dave Matthews Band we're in the Northeast so much that we seem to be able to see each other every few weeks naturally. We'll have a day off in New York, so maybe my husband will drive in to see me. Or we have 2 days off before our show in Philadelphia, so I'll be able to be home for those couple of days. So we're in the area, we get to see each other a bit.
Yeah.
When I go out to the West Coast, we won't see each other at all. It used to be different when he played in a band and his time was more free. He might be able to fly out if I had 2 days in a row and was maybe in a city for more than 3 days. But now his schedule is so busy with school that he hasn't been able to see me. So
right.
we'll go a month or so without seeing each other. I think the longest at this point is maybe a month and a half. At that point, it starts to get difficult. But
yeah.
Once you get past that first week or two, to me, it's easy. You get used to it.
Right.
We'll sometimes even go a couple days without texting or talking. And we're getting better at that. We're both trying to make a better effort for it. We at least the last year we'll check in, but he knows I'll get very busy and stressed out, or my schedule is not lining up well with his. So those conversations are not always there. And
sure.
I'm not a big phone talker, and at night I'm tired, and a lot of times I feel like I don't have much to talk about. It's work. It's kind of routine.
Right.
So until something happens or there's been a great, things happening on a day off where I could talk to him about, what am I going to tell him? Oh, hey, load it in again.
Yeah, right.
Did the job again.
Right.
Our conversation will be what Dega Catering served that day. Like, oh my gosh, guess what Dega made today? It was amazing. It just, it starts to get into that boring routine.
Yeah,
so, thankfully, we're both good like that. We both get it, and it works for us.
Well, and at the end of his day, your day's just ramping up, kind of, right? Because it's showtime. Not ramping up, but like you're going into a whole other cycle, let's say.
Yes.
So yeah, that's got to be tough. Give me a sense of how big the Dave Matthews traveling circus is.
We're a small village.
Okay.
We're not a stadium tour or
Right.
doing like those U2 stadiums where you have seal days and stuff. I think our crew I think we're in the 80s. I think we're in the low 80s. And I think that's it, including band and all of our truck drivers and bus drivers. They're part of our crew. I don't know why anyone would not count them. So yeah, I think we're close to about 80 people, including everybody.
So that's like how many buses and trucks?
Trucks will vary per tour depending on the lighting and what the staging has to be. But I think we're usually 12 buses.
Wow.
I think we're usually 6 crew and 5 band, or maybe that's 11. I would have to count in my head. This is where some of the luxury comes in, and the band treats us very well. We have condo bunks for the most part. We're not in coffins.
What's a condo bunk?
Nobody has talked to you about bunks.
Well, I know a coffin bunk. What's a condo bunk?
You have a double stack in your bus instead of a 3 stack. So those are condos.
Damn.
So our bunk is, most of the buses will be 2 stacks instead of 3.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have 1 or 2 3 stacks depending on if there's a lot of crew or you want an extra junk bunk or something.
Yeah.
But so we'll have condos where I'm so small I can sit up in my bunk. So hence, they could cut that. They can maybe cut a bus out if they crammed mixed times or crews into buses to just do that and have less buses. But again, they really from the top down, they treat us well. And so we might have that one extra bus so that everyone can be a little bit more comfortable.
That's awesome. Then everybody shows up in a better mood. They do their job better show.
I mean, it's also, again, like I said, we're family. A lot of, I'm with this band 13 years. Some of them have been with them 20 or 25 years. And so, they're friends, and you want to treat people the same way you want to be treated.
Absolutely.
So some of the band, they might have their own bus because their family comes out and they want private time with their family, or they need space to work on other projects. And some bands on other tours will share a bus. It's really all up to them what they want to pay for and what helps them as an artist be able to create and get the job done.
Yeah. We missed each other. We were supposed to see each other up in Woodstock area.
Yep.
Kingston. You went to see David Byrne. How was it?
You have to go see the show this summer.
Good.
I bought tickets for this show. It was an amazing show. I had great seats. The show is just incredible. It was creative and artistic.
Sounds like your ticket experience was good.
Yes, that is definitely a benefit to being a ticketing person. Is I don't, I thankfully work nationally, and I have a lot of good relationships with ticketing people and box offices. So I'm definitely lucky there when it comes to seeing shows. If I actually want to sit in a seat.
Yep.
I don't always have. I'm lucky a lot of times to be taken care of by a band, and sometimes you buy your tickets and you buy them because it's worth it, and you don't complain about it. Not everybody gets a free ride all the time.
Yep.
The David Byrne show is amazing. Everyone on stage constantly moving, wireless instruments. I don't know how they set it all up. It must be a very difficult show, even though it looks simplistic. It looks simple. It's definitely not. There's a lot of choreography involved. It's pretty cool.
Cool. So you survived that snowstorm. That was the whole thing. I think you guys drove up in that snowstorm.
We drove up the day after the snowstorm. We were super worried about the roads. Yeah. But then I kind of forgot, well, this is upstate New York. They're used to this. The roads were clean as a whistle, cleaner than here in the city of Philadelphia. The roads were amazing.
That's awesome. Good. Well, I'm sorry we missed each other.
Trip. Yeah, me too.
I want to end on one other thing. So, ticket prices.
Yes.
I'm not singling out Dave Matthews or anything. I'm just saying ticket prices in general,
yeah.
right? They've gotten crazy out there. What's your thought on that? Because you have a unique perspective on it.
Yeah, I mean, that's almost too broad of a question without being more specific. There's just different ways of looking at it.
Yeah.
Ticket prices are set by, a promoter has to get the guarantee back. So, the artist has a guarantee. Ticket pricing is where the promoter makes up for that guarantee. So ticket prices have to be based on, working so that everybody doesn't lose money on a show.
Right.
There's the fair market value. There's also what are people willing to pay. I mean, there's so many different ways of looking at ticket and ticket prices.
Well,
for Dave Matthews Band, we've always kept our ticket prices pretty low. We play every year, multiple shows. We want people to be able to come to all of them and come to as many as they can. So we work hard to keep our ticket pricing low. But once they leave our hands, we can't help if, fan club members or other people, what they do with them at that point.
Right.
So I know that there's times where someone will, be fine with paying a lot of money to get to a concert at the last minute because maybe they didn't know the show was in town.
Sure.
And not everybody can afford to do that all the time.
Yeah.
So there's just so many different ways of looking at ticket pricing. It's hard without being more specific.
I guess my question should have been more like, what drives the high price of tickets? Is that more?
Again,
that's not specific enough.
Yeah, because it's like, well, are you looking at the high price of tickets from when you're purchasing it originally when they go on sale? Like the base ticket price is $300 to see this show in this small theater. How does it warrant that price?
Right.
Or is it that high ticket price is that $1,500 2 weeks out or, 2 weeks after the on sale by a reseller?
Right.
So it's the same thing. It's which way do you want to go? Which angle? Because they are two different things to someone like me.
Sure.
To the general consumer, it might just be, wow, tickets are really expensive.
I think that's what I meant. Sorry.
Yeah, but I don't know if they're looking at it, if they're looking at that $45 lawn price and thinking that's expensive, or if they see the $45 lawn price with the Ticketmaster fees on top and then think it's expensive, or if it's because the show is sold out and someone is trying to resell their ticket for $400.
Yeah. I think
it's all up to what the person thinks. There's some bands I have no problem with spending a few $100s for because I love them and I want to see them and I think it's worth it. And there's some bands where I'm look at myself and I'm like, are you kidding? That band is charging $60? Right. For a standing all GA show. I can't deal with that anymore. I'm too old.
Right.
But same thing. It's a different perspective.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
Yeah, I would need you to get way more specific.
I need more coffee to drill down into that one. I guess because I was reading something. I got to remember who it was, but I was reading something about somebody, and they were just talking about like, oh yeah, I went and saw this band. When I was a kid, it was $15.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's definitely there's bands out there that I used to go see in a club for $10. Like, I'm from South Florida.
Right.
I've seen Marilyn Manson play for $5 at a club.
Right.
Now maybe the tickets are $150, dollars. But at the same time, you have to think that they were playing that small club. Now they're a business. They have staging and lighting and better sound and bigger venues. And with that comes costs and marketing costs and all the people that they have to pay for and their cost of living.
Yep.
And one of the things to think about is now so many artists aren't making money off of albums and album sales. And the only place that they do make money is through touring. Mm-hmm. And that is their job. They're on stage playing live in that heat. And, under those circumstances, away from their families. And there's a price that's worth as well.
Sure. Absolutely. All right, good. So even though I asked a terrible question in a terrible way, you brought it home.
I can help you define that to specific specific things. Like, I don't like scalping and ticket brokers and
Sure.
and where all that comes from. But at the same time, I do understand sometimes you buy a ticket now 6 months in advance, 8 months in advance, and then something happens and you can't come to a show. I see people on my Facebook that are reselling the tickets at face value just because they don't want to lose money.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen people try to raise that because they think they have a hot ticket and they want the extra money.
Right.
It's like buying a comic book and then selling it on eBay for a ton of extra money. Right. Either someone wants it and they'll pay it, or they don't.
Yep. Cool. Lisa, you are awesome. I am very psyched that you agreed to come on and do this. I know you were a little hesitant, but I'm psyched that you did.
I thanks for doing things like this. I do also think it's a good way to not be pigeonholed into one thing, which definitely can happen.
Well, it's cool because I think you are the first of this perspective of the live touring industry that I've had on the show. And so it's good to hear. And I thank you for sharing, man. It's been very cool.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. You're welcome.
All right. Once again, Lisa S. Boland, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate you doing this. Don't forget, folks, next week, I want you to stay tuned. We got Ken Pooch Van Druten for episode number 92. You can follow us at Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play, and YouTube, all as Roadie Free Radio. Check out the website, roadiefreeradio.com. Send me a note. I want to hear from you. That's info@roadiefreeradio.com. Have a look out for the All Guitar Network coming up real soon. Head over and sign up while you can. In the meantime, y'all be safe out there. No roadies, no rock and roll.